Well, isn't this familiar? Today I'll be reacting to Deafo as a deaf person. It's like so nostalgic because I can feel all the memories coming back. So I actually read this book in elementary school, but I just spent the last couple of days rereading it. Let me know down in the comments, have you read this book? It's basically a graphic novel about a girl who loses hearing in her early years, and she shares her experience about what it's like to go to school, making friends. Before we get into this, a little backstory is I was actually born deaf, but I got cochlear implant at 3 years old, so I can hear, but it's not perfect. It's compressed, similar to Deafo. If you have the book, feel free to follow along, otherwise it'll be right on the screen. So page 16, but she's at an audiology appointment, which I went to a lot of those as a kid, almost like every week actually. I still do go to them, but not as often anymore. The part is where you hear the beep in the booth. I do that all the time. We hear these beeps in the booth to test our hearing. What kind of pitches can we hear? What can we not hear? And then after all these beeps are done, then we'll get an audio, like, was it a chart? Yeah, a chart, exactly what she has here. I have a lot of these here. A chart, which tells what we can't hear and what we can hear in the range, and what sounds can the hearing aid actually cover, and what sounds can the hearing aid not. If you're enjoying this so far, make sure to give it a like. Okay, so page 24. She's describing what it sounds like with her new hearing aids. And I've had this similar experience before, where it kind of feels like you're underwater and it's like these muffling sounds. Especially in noisy rooms, it just feels like the other person's just underwater, just talking. Page 30 is very relatable. Since I personally am not an expert in sign language, shocking, similar to the author of this book. Things we do rely on is visual clues, context clues, and gestural clues. So it's like, what do you see while a person talks to you? Yeah. And then, where are you while the person talks to you, and what's going around us? If it's dinner time and there's like a fruit like cantaloupe, then I know it's related to food rather than like. Page 32, the sign she's holding up is very relatable. Especially number 7, group discussions are impossible to understand. That is very true. One thing I would say is the biggest struggle about hard hearing or hearing loss is group discussions. Growing up, I never wanted to have group projects or group discussions in school. And it was not because I didn't want to talk to classmates. I did. I want to make friends. But it's like I would just sit there and not understand anything going on. So then my classmates would think I'm just trying to not do any work, or my teachers think I'm like antisocial, which is tough, but it's gotten better over the years. I've been able to learn what works. I've been able to, stand up for myself, say, can we actually work over here, or even out in the hallway? And my group members or teachers, very understanding. Also, another thing very helpful for someone who has a cochlear implant, I do have a hearing aid, I'm just not wearing it right now. If you actually talk to me on the side of the device, and my preference is my cochlear side, so if you see me, come talk to me on my right side, and that is enormously helpful. Okay, page 36. This exact experience is not relatable, but the concept is. One of the kids tries to be nice and turns up the radio super loud for me. This is relatable when it comes to noisy rooms, when someone, I tell them, I'm having a hard time hearing, so they shout louder, which isn't really helping. The point is, our devices compress sound. So even if we crank up the volume, all you're doing is making the compressed sound louder, but doesn't make it more clear. Moving on to school. So the microphone the teacher wears, I had that all the way through middle school. In the book, it shows her first reaction to what it's like to hear the teacher talk through the microphone. It's like so nostalgic because I can feel all the memories coming back. Where the teacher would go, is the microphone working? Is the sound working? And wow, I remember those days. I would go up to my teacher with this little FM system. I don't really have to explain to the teacher what it is unless it's a substitute teacher, because the school already debriefed the teacher before the school year started. So I'd just be like, hand the microphone, you would wear it. It's like a direct phone call, like 24/7. They can mute it, but they rarely mute it. I get it, teachers have a lot going on, but it's so relatable. They'd be going out in the hallway talking to another teacher about the test. I can hear that. Or the homework, and sometimes I'll go up to them and be like, you forgot to mute your mic, and they're like, I'm so sorry. And then they do it again and again. Some teachers, you tell them once, and they're so good at remembering. Others, it's whatever. Okay, this reaction on page 45, where you're just having a normal day, and then some kid just goes up to you and goes, hey, what are those things in your ear? Are you deaf? And then you just go, This has happened to me before. Not in those exact words, but they're like, hey, what is that on your head? Or they're like, what is that? What is that on your head? Or is that, can you not hear? Okay, there's one that I remember very clearly, and I believe he didn't mean it as a mean comment by his reaction afterwards. He said, wait, so your head's made out of metal? Because the magnet sticks on my head? And I explained to him, no, it's not. It's just this one section has a magnet where the coil is. And then he was like, oh. He was actually very curious, and we talked for like 10 minutes after that. Okay, first day of school and the microphone. So she talks about how she just doesn't like, showing the microphone to a teacher for the first time, which is very understandable. For me, I don't think it was necessarily an embarrassing thing growing up. I think part of it, I was so young, I actually didn't really grasp the whole thing was different. I was just like, it was just what it was. But the one thing that was a bit nerve-wracking growing up was handing the mic to a substitute teacher, because I would have to explain what it was, and I didn't know if they were gonna be like, no, I'm not gonna wear that. Most of the time they were very nice. Sometimes I've had situations where they were just like, they still didn't understand. Now moving on to PE. The microphone and the PE teacher. Yeah, this one's so relatable. Where she hears the PE teacher go like, dang, my microphone's all tangled up in my whistle. I'll just, oops. During PE, when I would give the mic to the PE teacher, he would just wear it with all of his like keys and his like whistle, and it would just like jingle. And it was just like... So here's the part where the PE teacher drops the mic and it goes kaboom and she goes ow to her ears. For me, I've never had that experience because I've been told the cochlear and hearing aid actually has a sound cap. So if there's a super loud sound, the device will just cap it and it won't hurt my ears. Okay, page 76. These are things that now that I've read El Deafo, again, I never really thought of that you can't lip read animated characters. I suppose that's because I always have captions on, But that never crossed my mind. Page 104. When people randomly do sign language at you because they know you're deaf is so relatable. I actually get this one like multiple times a month still. Especially when I go out. One of the most common questions I get is, do I know sign language? Which I don't actually, because I grew up with the cochlear, so I learned how to just speak English. One section of the book where the mother says you should learn sign language because it's really helpful. I agree with that statement, but I can relate to the author a lot here. I never really had the desire to learn sign language. The reason is because although it is very helpful, there's only a number of people who actually know sign language. So the odds that I would run across one is uncommon to come across someone who does know sign language. So my preference is English. And if I can't hear, okay, what do I do? Easy. So I get a piece of paper and pencil. I ask them, my cochlear battery's dead or my hearing aid battery's dead. Could you write it down? Or I'll ask them, can you text me? Or can you write it down on your phone? Or even, nowadays there's apps with closed captions. I can just read that live. Page 125, where Cece is watching TV and she's thinking in her head, I better laugh so she'll think I understand. Okay, I don't do this necessarily to TV, but I do this in conversations when I have no idea what they just said. But I'll just laugh it off. I'll go like, that's a good one. And sometimes it's awkward because it wasn't a joke. It was just like something random. Just be like, homework is tomorrow. And I'm just like, haha, good one. I was like, no, that makes no sense. But most of the time, before I laugh, I'll ask them, what did you say? Or, sorry, can you say that again? After a third time, I just go like, oh yeah, even though I have no idea what they said. Or I'll be like, haha. The part where she turns off her hearing aids at night is so relatable. It's like, a lot of people tell me, I wish I could do the same thing you could. Because I don't have to listen to the random noises at night. Someone getting up and walking in the hallway. Don't have to hear any of that. It's actually one of the best things about being deaf, which is just having that complete silence. If you're not too used to it, it can actually drive you insane kind of silence. But if you're used to it, it's one of the most peaceful things ever to exist. Okay, the part where they test out to see how far the FM goes before it starts losing connection. I can relate to this. For instance, if I'm going to a restroom during a class session, I can hear the teacher's voice slowly turning into static the further I go. But nowadays, I experience this when I'm watching like YouTube on my iPad and I'm walking away and the Bluetooth connection through my cochlear and my iPad starts like becoming staticky. It's like losing connection. This is a funny part I found in the book that I cannot relate, but I just found it very funny. It's like, y'all's wait, can people who wear hearing aids also wear makeup? Just like, and then she's thinking, that's the dumbest question I've ever, wait a minute, here's my chance to get out of this. Have I ever got a dumb question like this? I mean, I haven't really got any dumb questions. No question to me, honestly, is dumb. It's just people being curious, and I love sharing about it. One I could think is, like, can you swim? Which is, like, obviously does not do with my hearing, but I understand where they're coming from because they're asking, can the device get wet? Thank you for tuning in. So, Deafo gets a lot of things right. Actually, I say all of it's right. It just depends on your experience of being deaf. I'm so glad I've reread this because some of this I have not thought about consciously in years. And I'm just like, that is so me. You enjoyed this video. Let me know what else should I film or react to. And ask me any silly question, honestly. And I'll probably respond to it. And remember to like and subscribe because that'll let me know that making videos are so worth it. I recommend this book. And thank you for watching and see ya next time.